Hello, and welcome to this video where we will be discussing about the governance and management and also the third party management which falls under the domain of security and risk management. In terms of governance and management, the overarching picture always is that the governance and management lies at the top of an organization which flows down in terms of procedures and policies, which then cascaded down. If you look at the governance structure in a typical company, it follows the C-suite, where you have the CEO, CTO, CIO, CFOs, who majorly forms the roles and responsibility architecture at the top. And they are responsible for defining the objectives and give direction to an organization. It is important to note that this structure is not a common structure everywhere. You probably have a case in an organization where the CIO and the CTO roles are merged into one. It all depends on the needs and the capability of the organization and how they deal with the various roles structure around their functioning. The important aspect that the governance and the management probably have to perform is setting the objectives, but also monitoring those objectives to stay the course so that it doesn't go haywire, that your business falls into trouble. They normally do it by way of defining risk appetite statements where they want to do the business by taking certain risks, but not beyond that level to danger their going concern. The management layer can also be formed by employees at the middle or lower levels. They are the one who actually take the actions eh, to make sure that the objectives and the direction that is being set from the top management is being followed. So they do so by planning according to what needs to be achieved, building to make sure that objectives and direction are adhered to, run what they have built and monitor that what they have built is indeed meeting the objectives. And it's on the intended direction where the management or the upper management want them to go. And they follow the action which is remains within or must remain within the risk tolerance as set up by the risk appetite statement from the management. In terms of security governance, it's a special case of governance where the security aspects of an organization are dealt with, which are both in terms of defining the policies and procedures, but also the implementation of those policies and procedures. The key roles in organization, and this is again not an exhaustive list, whereby based on the need, based on the capabilities of an organization, the role can be mixed with each other. We have executive leadership, we have middle management, we have support roles, we have frontline roles, but again, these roles can be played by one person or two roles can be played by people in the same department. So this is not an exhaustive list. In terms of running an corporation, many a times it is impossible for a company to run the business on its own without the support of third party. So that includes our vendors, that includes our suppliers, that includes people who are outside of the organization, but they are still very much important to the conduct of our organization. So in terms of that, third party procurement plays a very important role. Procurement helps us in buying product and services from third party, making sure that the security aspect with which your organization is running is also adhered by those third-party providers. It is achieved by setting up SLA, what is called a service level agreement. For example, if the agreement is that the vendor service should be available 99.9% of the operating time, then that is something can be mentioned in the service level agreement. You can also add rights to audit or rights to do a penetration test on the infrastructure of the vendor to make sure that their capabilities, security aspect, business as a going concern, thought process is aligned with your own business. Otherwise, the faults at their end will also may end up impacting your business. In terms of other aspect with third party, sometimes due to the parallelization in the business needs, the area, the domain that the organization is operating, it also makes sense to go and acquire companies who are in the same domain or who are in the domain which you think is very useful for the further growth of your organization. And that is where mergers and acquisitions comes into picture. It will help you to boost your business. It will help you to accelerate your growth. And it will also help you to maintain the edge in the business domain which you are operating. Reverse of that is also true. Times you may have a part of business which is not meeting the growth objective or which is not aligned anymore with the direction that you want to go. So you can divest that business and make a separate entity or sell it as a separate entity to a third party or to any other business. That's same as splitting the organization in some cases, where you take one part of the business and make it a core business, and the other part can be sold off to vendors or any other competitor who is interested in pursuing with that part of the business. It is important to give due consideration both for merger and accusations and divestment in terms of what is getting split. For example, do you still have a common infrastructure? Who will be the owner of that common infrastructure once your business get divested? Or if you once you merge or acquire a new company, who will be responsible for owning the common part of processes, infrastructure, services that will be part of your own business? Therefore, both in case of mergers and acquisition and divestment, security considerations are of prime importance and you must pay attention to it. For example, absorbing the unknown. You may have done a great deal of due diligence, due care has been taken while acquiring or divesting a company, but it could also be still a possibility that there are unknown parameters and you must be ready to deal with those unknown parameters if they ever becomes an issue. It could also mean that you may end up creating a new attack vector for your organization because the company that you have acquired may not have the same kind of standard security policies as the one which you are having, which means you either have to first bring it to the level what you are or do a business in a way that the security incapabilities of the acquired organization doesn't harm your existence. It may also lead to impacting resources. For example, if you have two roles which are of same nature and after acquiring you want to merge it into one role, it may become a choice of difficulty who that role should go to. Is it from the company which got acquired or it is from the company which is acquiring? And those are deliberate choices that you have to make based on the objectives and the direction that you want to take the business forward. This may lead to a situation where you will have disgruntled employees. For example, a senior member of an acquired company who may still wants to hold a senior position in the merged and acquired entity may not get the position and may end up harming the business through insider trading, insider information being let out, and many other ways. Therefore, it is important that you pay great deal of attention when you go through the process of merger and acquisition and disinvestment to make sure that these security considerations are properly taken care of. Due care and due diligence will always remain core part of this whole process. I'll stop here. Thank you very much and keep learning.